YUNKJunk!
Listen, you jerk, The Way, Way Back is one of the best written coming-of-age stories for a young man I've ever seen, and you're sleeping on it.
Listen, you jerk, you're also sleeping on Steve Carell's performance in a dramatic asshole of a role.
Welcome to Listen, You Jerk. I'm Terry, this is Ozzy, and this is a show where we talk to you about minutia that is in films. So in this case, I'm going to go after writing and probably dip into performance. Sounds like Ozzy's going to talk more about performance during this one. So we saw a movie called The Way, Way Back. A lot of people slept on this movie, didn't see it. I don't even know if it went to theaters, but it should have because, I mean, that cast is star-studded as far as I'm concerned.
I would be stunned if it didn't, but I had never heard of it until you told me about it.
So I do know that the writers of this movie went on to write The Descendants with George Clooney and won an Oscar for it, either right before or right after this movie, I'm not sure. But the writing in this film is so spot on to what a young boy feels when you're a little awkward and you're in a place you don't want to be and you just don't know what to do, and it's captured brilliantly. The performances are excellent, but for me, the writing of this movie is incredible. So it's about a young boy who is, a son of divorce, and his mom takes him with her new boyfriend and the boyfriend's daughter to his beach house for the summer. And in it, he's just getting, beat down by this guy, He's getting beat down, and the story is about, when you have nothing at home and nobody's rooting for you, and you go off on your own to try and learn about girls, try and learn about working, try and just learn what it means to be an adult. And when that happens, right around 12 to 14, and it shows this beautiful journey of this kid, and he's helped by these incredible characters along the way. Yeah. But I want to open it immediately up because one of the big things is the casting of this movie. They cast the asshole part in an interesting way, which goes into Ozzy.
Just Steve Carell taking a break from his comedic, even his good guy dramatic roles that he does. He is a complete jerk in this movie. Like he's that stepdad that is just like so disappointed with this kid, and he's making fun of him, and he's telling him how he needs to be better, and he needs to be more of a man, and he needs to do this, and he needs to do that. And this kid barely knows him. He just continually pushes this kid, and I think he's the catalyst for the rest of the movie because he's just like, where's my father figure? He's like, where am I, how am I supposed to be? And that, I think Steve Carell was a perfect role for that, though it steps out of his wheelhouse.
And by the way, I think this was made in the height of The Office, where Steve Carell is king of the world.
Yeah.
In a humorous, loving way. And in the writing, it is written as a straight down the barrel jerk. There's not really redeeming qualities.
No, not one.
This is an asshole boyfriend.
Yeah.
Who tells, and I'm gonna stick to the writing. One of the things he says in the first 15 minutes
in the car on the way
in
there.
the car is, what number do you think you are?
What would you rate yourself?
What would you rate
1
yourself?
through 10, what would you rate yourself?
And I think he says something like a 6.
The kid says a 6.
Carell says...
He calls him a 2. He's like,
3.
Did he say a 3?
Yeah.
He's like, I think you're a 3. He's like, you could be a 6, you could be a 10. He goes, but right now I think you're a 3. He's like, you're not living up to your potential. And like,
yeah, let's try and bump those numbers up.
Right. And me thinking how I would have felt if I had heard that as a child, like, that's destructive.
Yeah.
Especially not even from like a family member. Like, it's like from some guy you just met. It's like...
And this kid is clearly, not captain of any football team.
No.
Probably doesn't have a lot of friends. He's, an indie music guy who sits on cars looking up at the ceiling, listening to music and singing.
Right.
But all of us can identify with this kid. All of us can identify with, I'm a fish out of water, but I'm a fish out of water anywhere.
Right.
I don't know how to do this. I just want to not get in the way.
Right.
Now, this is not a downer movie at all.
No.
This is a triumph of a movie. It's a beautiful drama and funny as hell, in no small part thanks to the performance of Sam Rockwell.
Oh, my God.
This is the best Sam Rockwell performance I think there is.
That's a bold statement, but it's definitely up there for me. It's very high up there.
So in a normal scenario, Sam Rockwell would play the asshole,
100%.
And be able to nail it perfectly. Instead, they put him in the good guy role.
Yeah.
But in an interesting good guy role, because the way this movie is written is there's a guy who just starts showing up.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know who he is until later. You are introduced to him, and he's just a 40-year-old dude playing Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Explaining the importance of Pac-Man and you know, how it's one of the most classic games. And the kid, you know, goes into a pizza place. You know, he doesn't know where he is. He takes a little girl's bicycle and goes into town to try and do something because his mom's off shtupping the boyfriend or whatever. And they're just spending the whole time getting drunk, getting high.
Yeah.
And there's another part we'll get to later. But in this scene, it's just like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? So he just goes to a pizza place. He gets a soda. I'm sad for him immediately when he walks in. Like, this is a kid at a beach town with no friends.
Yeah.
Like,
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And the people who should be his friends, you know, his potential stepsister, just blows him off and leaves him. So he goes in this place. He's kind of downtrodden. He's figuring out what to do. Gets a soda and he just goes near the video games, which that's us.
I was going to say, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
If I didn't know what to do, I would just go to the arcade and fool around for a little bit.
Yeah.
We did do that, actually.
You did 100%.
Our last beach trip.
Yes, we did do that. You're right. And he gets there, and there's just this guy playing Pac-Man, and he tries to give him some tips, and he's immediately like, "What? What are you doing?" And
He tells him that there's a formula to winning Pac-Man,
Yes.
and he says, "Go fuck yourself," basically.
Yeah, basically.
He's like, no, it's a game. We're playing a game. I'm not following any pattern. Screw this.
But it's
I
written.
love that.
It's written like a big brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's written like a cool uncle or a big brother.
Cool uncle for me. Like,
cool uncle.
Yeah.
He's not talking down to him. He's just talking shit.
he leaves his quarter in the machine, and he says, "Hey, by the way, like you can use my quarter, but high score is my initials, and don't use the pattern. Play the game."
It's very much like he's got to go. The staff is asking him to leave. We haven't met these people yet, but they ask him to leave. He's like, "All right, kid, there's another quarter in there. You play. Yeah. But if you win, you know, I don't want to see your initials.
It's my initials, and play like I play."
Right. Play like I play. That's right. So it's written of he'll have a shitty time, then he'll go out and he'll have something. It's not necessarily a great thing, but he'll have something that is a moment of growth.
Well, once he
A
finds
moment of peace, maybe.
I think it's once he finds that water park is when he's just like, every time it gets like too much at his house, he's just like, screw it, hits his bike and he goes straight to the water park, even in the middle of the night.
You're right. I guess what it is it's a story about I don't fit in at home.
Yeah.
I got to go find who I am.
Like you said, it's a great coming of age story in many different ways, but this is almost like kind of the motif of the whole thing is find your place. Find the place that you do fit in, that you feel the most confident, that you feel, you know, proud and happy and good with yourself, and go there. Like, stay there. Like, go with your people. That's
a really good point.
That's how
it's like a tribe,
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you find your tribe, go there.
Yeah, it's almost like find your nerd tribe.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And I wouldn't call these guys nerds, but I would call, like, all of them are weirdos.
Oh, yeah.
In
just
the best
goofballs.
way.
Yeah, they're oddballs. They're misfits.
They work at so I'm getting ahead. So the next part of the story is he has another one of those weird things. And I think this time he witnesses, maybe he doesn't witness, but he gets the idea that his that his mom's boyfriend might be cheating. Again, this happens to her a lot, and he's not happy. So he's getting a little bit of a tude. Steve Carell's being like, "Hey, when you're in this house, I don't want to hear that attitude. It's yes, sir, blah, 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 blah." In just the dickest way you could be. He's like sitting kind of like this, and he's like, "Oh, hey, didn't hear you come in last night. Where were you?"
We need to work with each other, right? You need to listen to what I'm saying, so this works.
Exactly. It's just it's a perfect performance of a horrible father figure.
Yeah, horrible.
Meanwhile, it's like the dad you want reminds me of this other movie called like The Tender Bar with Ben Affleck, where it's like the uncle steps in for where the dad is not present, but it's not it's the best kind of uncle. It's the uncle who will like buy you condoms, you know, and tell you, "Hey, you're fucking up. Don't stop fucking up."
Yeah, you can drink in my basement, but just don't fuck up and don't go home.
That's it exactly. So anyway, he leaves his house again and he goes to this water park. Sam Rockwell's there again.
Yeah.
And this is where you just fall in love with Sam Rockwell as this person because
screw it, come on, we're gonna walk around.
Well,
now.
he goes up to the kid because he's just sitting there in jeans, like not knowing what to do. And honestly, that takes courage, like for a young person to go somewhere alone. a water park, even like where you're the most vulnerable,
Where your
at
peers
that
are all
age.
there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And you have no one to sit. So he's sitting there. Rockwell comes up to him and is just kind of like, hey kid, we're getting some complaints. You're gonna have to go sit over there.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? Oh, I'm sorry. He apologized, get us to walk away, and Rockwell's immediately like, wait, hold on. I'm kidding.
I'm joking.
I'm kidding.
It's because he's used to getting crapped on the whole time.
Exactly.
Expecting it to be real.
Well, this is why it's beautiful writing. Like it's here's your good guy. And it might not be the good guy you think it is.
Right.
It's the guy who works at the water park that is screwing up in his own relationship, not
Screwing up in a lot of ways.
right, not the guy who has the lake house, who has the boat, has the cool friends. No, it's these weirdos.
Right.
You know? And so he immediately is like, all right, I think he goes and gets him a swimsuit. I think is the first thing he does.
They go to the rental bin at the booth, and the guy's like, nobody ever comes here. He's like, wow, I actually have to give up on swim trunks?
Yeah.
Like the weird bald guy.
And it's the dude who played the dean in Community.
yeah, he's great.
Who is one of the writers. The other one's
really?
the other one's the water slide guy, Nat Faxon.
I love that when they slide themselves in these little itty bitty roles. I love that.
Yes. Yes. So it becomes this thing of like just a bunch of like, I'm going to keep going back to uncle things. It's very much like an uncle movie.
It is.
Where he just suddenly gets all these weird uncles who are awesome. But Rockwell is the key because he is relentless with the jokes coming out, with the fun. You want to be around him. And he never comes out and says, you know, it's beautiful writing in that he never has to come out and say, hey, I think you should work here.
Right.
It's clever. It's
like, hey, you're one of us.
You should be having fun. Yeah. You know, and it's like, he's just about to drive home, sees the kid, and he's like, how are you getting home? Like, throw it in the car, I'll drop you off. Thinks nothing of it. He just drops off a kid to his house. And, you know, the mom sees it and starts concerned, but screw her. She's off screwing up with the boyfriend. And what you start to see is this kid find his place and grow. He's leaving every day. He's not letting Carell get away with his shit and talking to him. He's like, I have other stuff going on. He doesn't tell his parents what he's doing. Right. Meanwhile, the kid went out and got a job.
Right.
Like a summer job. How great, like that's a great kid.
Right.
And Rockwell's thing is, you know, later on, let's talk about it as it develops. He's starting to, there's a girl who lives next door. Mm-hmm. And it's the love interest.
I love that character, by the way. I want to get into that, though. Oh.
Yes. So there's a love interest, and she eventually, you know, he's working with the guys. The guys are teaching him how to talk to girls. The guys are teaching him how to have fun. He has to break dance at one point, and the squad is like, hey, you got to get in there and solve this, which is such a good work thing. I've done this with interns myself, of like, figure it out. You see that problem?
Yep.
You got to go solve it.
Yeah.
And he does. And the kid shows constant courage.
Right.
You know, he's not fighting a battle, but like that's terrifying at that age, 13, 14.
Terrifying at 30.
Stand up. Yeah. To stand up to someone and say, hey, you can't do that here. And then dance your way out of the situation. And everyone claps for him. Everyone loves him. It's kind of like what we have. It's like, we call it toxic positivity.
Yeah.
And it's a bro thing. It's a brotherhood thing where it's like, we don't care how stupid or silly. We're going to make you do it, but we are going to support the hell out of you while you do it with claps and things like that. So this is definitely a toxic positivity movie, and I love it.
The water park specifically, that's just all positive. Like everyone's just like so welcoming. Like and then like we do that. I mean, kind of no new friends, but we do the same thing. Like someone's like, if we know someone, like, you know, she's like, oh yeah, like you're cool, hang out with us, and it's just, come on, you're part of us for now.
Absolutely, you're one of us now, and that's the big thing. Is like, I think you nailed it earlier. I was looking for this, and I think this is a movie about finding your tribe. Yeah, this is a movie about finding your group, and your group might not be the one you were born with. And it might not even be the one you signed up for. Yeah. But it might be this other.
And it could change your whole life. It could change all the time.
Weirdos are fun. I mean, if you see someone gaming, be their friend.
Yeah.
Like,
gamers are
adult, child, do it.
Gamers are dope.
So what happens is he starts to, you know, become a man. He starts to grow, right? And then there's the confrontation where he sees Steve Carell cheating on his mom. Sees it.
Yeah.
And you see it in Carell's eyes that he's a dirtbag, but he doesn't I'm not sure if he wants to be a dirtbag anymore.
He's trying to be better, but he's always been a dirtbag.
Yeah,
He's
but
like, I kind of like this girl.
And the girl is mad at him because he's had a history of cheating with her every summer. That girl is also married.
Yeah.
So
To one of his friends.
Yeah.
At the beach.
This is not good. And so Duncan, our hero, comes in and explodes.
Calls
I don't
him right
remember
out.
why he explodes, but he goes right up to his mom and calls him out. Yeah. He is cheating on you. What are you going to do about it? And it's awesome. He's a kid. Right. He's 14.
That's what that is something no 14-year-old, I've never experienced this.
No.
I've never known anyone to do this. A 14-year-old calling out a full-grown adult for being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's bull.
And being right.
Exactly. And you're not just being petulant. Like you're correct.
Yeah.
Like you're the wise one in this situation. That's crazy.
And what he does is he leaves. You remember this? He leaves.
Yeah, he storms
and
off.
goes to the water park.
Middle of the night.
And walks into a going away party for the weird guy that was selling him swim trunks. And Rockwell immediately invites him in. He's got the little dude too. He's got his little.
He brings the neighbor boy over.
Yeah, the neighbor boy wears a patch because he has a lazy eye, but he's also like an awesome kid. He immediately walks in, asks for a beer, and Rockwell. You would think, we were joking around about, uncle's cousins giving you beer and stuff like that. No. He's like, you can hang out, but let's get you some sodas.
Yeah.
And they hang out, they dance. But
you're going home early, he said. Too.
Yeah.
He's like.
But he knows something's wrong.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything, but he knows something's wrong. And is it here where he drops him off? At the back at home?
No, he drops him back off at the house.
In the morning.
No, he drops him, when he drops him off at the house, that's early in the movie, like the first time he goes to the water park. But then this one, he tells him he's got to go home early, but they're sitting on top of the roof when the sun comes up. And he's just like, yeah, you've been here too long. But he was just like, all right. Like, he was like, you're right. Like, he's like,
well, and this is,
you got to go home, bud.
This is also his moment of like, he has broken down in front of
he totally
Rockwell.
Explained what happened.
And, Rockwell's listening. And I think it's very hard to act like you're a listening parent figure, but he does it somehow.
He does.
And I think he reflects a little bit on his own relationship that he has with Maya Rudolph. That's very much, you're fucking Peter Pan. When are you going to get off and figure this out? And I think through helping Duncan, he gets there. But the thing that sticks with me is this next part where he's like, come on, I'll take you home. Takes him home, immediately met by, I think, the whole family. But the mom is like, where have you been? And Rockwell kind of says, hey, you got a great kid. Yeah. And it just sticks with you. He's like, hey, Duncan's been working for me, introduces himself. He says, you've got a great kid here. I hope you know that.
And that's the first time someone like truly supports him and like lifts him up too.
My God, you're right. That's the only time in the movie where he gets a compliment.
Well, yeah, he'll get that. Well, he gets compliments.
Well, he gets that nickname. I don't remember what the nickname is.
I don't remember either. That was funny though.
Yeah.
But but that was the first time like that. And then later on when when they go there the last time, those are the only two times anyone's ever stuck up for him. Like even his mom wasn't sticking up for him.
Yeah, not till the
right.
very
He was like,
end.
hey, you got a good kid here. Like the first time he's ever gotten support was at the very end of the movie.
Yeah. And she says thanks.
From this random guy. And she's like, yeah, I know. But it's like.
But also, who are you?
Yeah.
But charm machine that he is, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The next part is my favorite scene in like any movie of the past like 20 years, which is Carell is there. And Rockwell goes to like shake his hand, I think, and is basically like, oh, hi, I'm a friend of the threes. That's why I knew it was the three.
Right.
Because he's basically like, you're a piece of shit for calling a young person a three. Right. And he's like, I'm a friend of the three. And Steve Carell doesn't take his hand. Yeah. And he's like, oh, come on, let's go. And Duncan doesn't move. And then Carell, you see a crazy look in his eyes.
Yeah, he's like, we're leaving. Like he gets
Rachel,
right
he goes to grab him.
Yeah.
And Rockwell just very slowly kind of goes, like he side shoulders in between them, just real quick to let him know like you're not touching this kid. No,
I'm not gonna get physical with you, but like you're not getting anywhere near this.
Yeah, it was very much just like it's one of the coolest moves I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that's where casting comes in. Because one, it's so ridiculous to see Steve Carell do this.
Yeah.
Because it is not his normal casting. But at the same point, you need someone as cool as Sam Rockwell to just slide in, but say everything you need to do with this cool move. Yeah. Like, he didn't punch him. He didn't deck him. He just walked between them. Yeah. And then kind of does one of these and kind of looks at Carell, and Carell just turns around and walks away. He says, get in the car. Right. Or whatever. Right before this, by the way, is another thing I want you to talk about, which is when he exposes Steve Carell. Do you remember what happens?
There's a couple different things. Are you talking about in the moment?
I'm talking about Carell.
Carell in the moment or
Yes,
afterwards?
in the moment.
In the moment, didn't he? He basically tried to gaslight him. I remember that. He kept trying to say like, "Oh, you don't know what you saw. You don't know what you saw."
But I think Duncan pushes him.
Oh yeah, he does. He gets physical, and then he goes to hit him back.
He does, and he goes back. And the way he does it, it's like, Carell used to play hockey back in the day.
Yeah,
that was definitely like a fucking hockey defenseman.
Oh yeah,
you know,
he got like real quick,
and he's big in his chest. Like he's intimidating to a kid, especially. But you see him like being like, "Oh, really?" And then like you would see a fight in a bar is what it looks like.
Right. Forgetting that this is a child.
Yeah.
Right.
So the casting here is unbelievable. Yeah. Like those two specifically.
Yeah.
And they could have flipped them.
I was thinking that earlier when we were talking. They easily could have flipped it, but I think for what you're saying, that barrel-chested Steve Carell as the they might have even originally had him flipped. But
You're right.
But that original barrel-chested Steve Carell being a jerk and then smaller, probably went through similar things as Duncan did in his childhood. That's more of like the champion of the threes, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So that I think they could have been reversed, but I think it would have been wholly less effective if they had been switched.
And the way that's I can't explain how perfect this is of like a coming of age tale and how it perfectly blends drama and comedy. Mm-hmm. You use the word dramedy, right? But this is like so funny in parts and so dramatic in parts and moving in parts. It's just so under the radar. So the way back refers to the back of the car.
Yeah.
So after this whole thing, after they're driving back, the mom finally takes the kid's side and climbs into the back of the station wagon and sits all the way in the trunk with him. And they pretty much decide, okay, we're done.
Right.
We're moving on.
Right.
And it's because of this kid. It's because of this kid's growth. Like he became the man of the house.
Yeah. That was big. I also, part of me really wanted her to, because there was like, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but there was a twinge of chemistry between the mom and Rockwell's character. I was like, just stay at the beach, stay all summer.
But I
think it needed to end like that.
I think, it did. It did. And it's nice. It is written like that. It's like, and then they go back. This is a summer. This is the summer you grow up. Everyone has a summer you grow up.
All right, so this is the most...
Ours was last year.
The most poignant part of the movie, in my opinion. And there's multiple reasons why I'll say this. One of them being the neighbor girl. There's always... Yes. Every person has had that summer where they, go to the beach and they meet a pretty girl that they hang out with and they get a little crush and they steal a kiss before they leave. They make all these friends and then you leave.
7th grade.
And you never see them again. Right. And like everybody's got that time that mine was Sea Isle in fucking 8th, 9th grade. Mm-hmm. Like you go there, you make all these cool friends, you have a blast. You're like, wow, I wish I could never leave. I would stay here forever. But you go back to real life. And I think that's also a huge part of the coming of age story because that's a lesson that every single man, woman, child needed to learn at some point was good times come, good times go. You need to know that, certain things you don't get to hold on to. Mm-hmm. And what he'd got to hold on to was finding himself, finding his tribe, finding who he was, but he didn't get to hold on to the people. And I think that was so real. Like that was just very real life. I enjoyed that.
I think you're going to a very important place. It is so realistic.
Yeah.
This movie is hella realistic. Yeah. So realistic, I bet they wouldn't make it today.
I don't think they could.
Because there's some objectification things. Yeah. But it's exactly 8th grade. It is it is exact. Yeah. There's the scene of Hold, where the lifeguard is teaching him how to check out a hot girl before letting her go down the slide. That's real. Yeah. So, call it what it is. That's important. Yeah. That is an important part because it's like, oh my God, this is actual childhood. Yeah. This isn't manufactured childhood. This is actual growth and becoming someone.
And it's so accessible for that reason. And whether you're a kid watching the movie or you're a 40-something-year-old watching the movie, we all went through childhood.
Yep.
So we all can access that, on a fundamental level. And I think that was the thing that and that's the writing aspect. I think that was the thing that pushed it so much further for me. I was just like, wow, like it's not the experience that I had, but it's very goddamn close. Like, different scenario, same experience.
And the reason I wanted to highlight this movie is because I think it's just written perfection.
Yeah.
Like, it is written well. You know, there's on paper, Carell is skirting the line of being an asshole. His performance, like you stated, elevates that.
Yeah.
But it's not written as this is the bad guy. This is a bad guy in this person's life. Yeah. He's bad because he's a cheater, and he doesn't really care for my girlfriend's kid.
Right.
You know that. But it's not. I am trying to do evil to you. No. It's like subtle stings, and it makes you question how you speak to other people and talk to other people. Of like, we know that guy. We know that guy in our friend group. But we know that guy, and it's funny because we're ribbing each other.
Yeah.
You can't do that to a 14-year-old kid.
Absolutely not. That sticks with them for years.
It's it. Yeah, it's right in the gut. So, you know, you write it as someone you know. You don't write it as this big evil threat. Yeah. No, it's we know this guy.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a dirtbag friend who is fun to be around in a bar, who will poke you on vacation and shit talk you and whatnot, and you throw it right back, and it's fun.
Right.
But then there's the core issue, which is, you know, this man is abusing this kid.
You're creating damage to a mind and a brain that is not fully formed yet, has not found themselves yet.
Yes,
when you do something like that sticks, that hurts. You don't just get to bat it back. And they did a great job writing.
It's written painfully well.
Yeah,
you hurt when he hurts. You're lonely when he's lonely.
Yeah.
So I want to circle to the relationship part too, because that's another part of this story. Because coming of age for a young man is finding first love, is finding that beach love that you mentioned. They do a great setup with this. In that the next door neighbor,
they slow burn it the whole way,
is a pretty girl who's part of the cool girl group that Steve Carell's daughter is part of, but doesn't quite fit in. Like, she reads.
Yeah, she's growing.
She recognizes the music he's listening to.
She's growing out of that friend group, which is like, you know, we all wanted to be a part of that friend group when we were young, but then we look back and it's like, yo, those were a bunch of douchebags.
Yeah. And you see her kind of like, you know, looking off while they're talking about, you know, dumb boys and teenage girl bullshit. And you can just tell she's something different.
Yeah.
And she kind of pursues him a little bit.
She does.
And he's riding a girl's bike and whatnot. Like, she wants to know where he's going. And she finally tracks him down.
She follows him.
And I think that's the second time they ever took. Third time, because the first thing, again, writing. They write an amazingly embarrassing moment that we can all relate to, which is you think you're alone.
Yeah.
You have earbuds in. You're singing. And you're singing not a popular song for the current day. This is a modern film. This is not a film in the 70s, but it feels like it because it's a beach town.
Right.
But she totally sees him doing it, and he has like the reaction of like taking out the earbuds. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Explains what the song is, and then kind of just, I gotta go. Yeah. Similar to, remember in Superbad when Michael Cera wants to leave the conversation, but they're both walking the same way. He's like,
and he just runs off.
Yeah, it's very much like that. But she tracks him down. But by the time she tracks him down, he's learned charm from Rockwell.
So
giving them those actual jokes.
That scene on the porch when they're talking like across their porches, I thought that was beautiful because that was like him trying to figure out that type of, you know, jokes and charm and all that.
Yeah.
And like they have a conversation, he's not doing too well with it. She starts to walk away and he panics a little bit and he goes back and he thinks about what Rockwell was saying and he just starts blurting out questions or like random statements that he's saying. I'm just like, nice try, kid. You'll get him next time.
Yeah.
But it was right. Like it
when she comes to the water park, he repeats the introduction to the water park that Rockwell expertly gives them.
Yes.
And you know, there's it's awesome because they don't play this easy.
No.
There's a scene, it's when he storms off after the Carell thing and he's sitting on the beach and he's sad. She comes to see him on the beach sitting there and they're talking. And he tries to sneak a kiss and she rejects it.
Oh yeah.
Which is crazy. I was so angry when I saw it. Because one, hyper realistic, but two, what the fuck? He had this. He has it in the bag. Why doesn't he get it? And then later, she comes up and says, I like you too.
I was just surprised.
I was just surprised.
And that happens too.
But
Because
honey, if you're surprised,
well, I mean, she's also a young kid too. He was 14, so what? She's 15, 16.
she's probably a year older.
I mean, like she's probably never. How many experiences has she had like that? It's not.
You said how many dicks?
No, absolutely not. Not about a 16-year-old.
How many experiences?
How many experiences has she had like that? Where she, like some kid is, coming to kiss her real hard and whatever. Like she's clearly doesn't fit in with her current tribe, which is another part of that. I was just like, oh, like it is about tribes because he doesn't like hers either.
He does get the kiss at the end.
He does eventually, and then she literally comes up to him and says, "Sorry, you took me by surprise," and then she kisses him. And that was for me. That was just like, damn, right before he leaves too. Like for me, like I was
That's
like,
how you got to do it.
I was like, dope. But then I was like, you're never gonna see that.
Make it hurt.
Never gonna see that girl again.
Well, and literally he's not because he's never going back to that
Yeah,
beach.
that's what I mean.
That's where Carell is.
Yeah.
The only reason he went is because Carell was there. He wanted to go stay with his dad.
Yeah.
At one point, I think Carell also hits him with, "Your dad doesn't want you."
He did say that.
Oh.
That was when he got called out.
Whew, that is awful.
Right.
And the problem is it was kind of true because you hear a phone call too.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a coming of age tale. Gotta have a quest.
Right.
I love the quest in this.
Right.
The quest, because this stuff happens. He gets a job. He gets the girl. He stands up to this dude. He gets his confidence. That all happens. But the moment he officially gets it is he grabs Rockwell and says, "We're going down the slide together.
I'm gonna pass you.
I'm going to pass you." This has been kind of peppered in. Again, great writing. Setup and execution.
You don't even realize it's the quest until he's like, "Screw this! I'm about to leave for the summer. I'm gonna do what everyone can't do.
I'm going to be the legend.
To do this."
Yes. And this has been peppered in. This is setup and payoff is what they call it. I don't know why I said that earlier, but setup and payoff is my favorite thing in a script. If you set something up and don't pay it off, I hate it. Set it up, pay it off. They set it up slightly with these three dudes, and Rockwell immediately introduces it as like, "This is Smirnoff, Vladimir, and Mordecai. That's not our names." He's like, "Oh, whatever, Mordecai."
Whatever.
And they explain like, "Is it true that someone went around?" And he says, "Yes, it is true, and that man was me." And now Duncan's like, "I'm the man.
Right.
I'm going to do that." They go down together, and you get the hug. You get the thank you for the bet. Actually, he tries to kind of be like, "Hey, man, I thought you did good." And he gets cut off by Duncan just hugging him.
Yeah.
And basically saying, "Thank you for the best summer of my life, the most important summer of his life."
Yeah.
So this movie, in my opinion, is probably the best example of a coming-of-age story for generations like ours, probably from like the 80s through current, like that generation, maybe before social media, but it is perfect in what it goes through.
Yeah.
How do I talk to humans?
Right.
How do I talk to girls? How do I get a job?
How do I respond to people, coming after me or making fun of me or poking at me?
What do I do with this negativity? Do I scream? Do I
internalize it and freeze up and go inside? Do I go put it somewhere else? It's just everything you need to come. Especially, obviously we're talking from a male perspective.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, as a male, it's everything you need in a coming of age story. It's everything I went through. It's everything I wanted to go through. It's everything people should go through.
It's an unbelievably well crafted script. Mm-hmm. It's directed very well. The performances are very well. There is a part where, there's not too much crazy directing happening, but there is Carell sitting in the dark waiting for Duncan to get home and really looking like a villain there.
Yeah.
And they'll just sit on the kid's face sometimes and just see what he does. But to me, it's the writing and it's the acting, particularly in Carell and the kid, Duncan, as well as
that's something we didn't touch on. He's so good at having that pent up anxiety, anger type thing where it's like I want to blow up right now, but I can't like that. I experienced that a lot when I was a kid.
It's so realistic.
I blew up a lot too, but
it's so realistic, and I just wish there were more films written this way because it's not written. It's not an agenda movie. No. We responded to it because it is so on the nose. Perfectly written for a young man of maybe 14 years.
Right.
All of us have been through this, and it's an amazing film. I really encourage you to see it. So listen, you jerk. Go see The Way, Way Back and comment below and let us know what you think.
Absolutely. Listen, you jerk. Open mind, open heart. You're gonna love it.
Absolutely. And Sam Rockwell does dance in it, so always a win.
YUNKJunk!